Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. On today's episode, we're going to interview Gerald Celente. He's the publisher of the Trends Journal and the founder and director of the Trends Research Institute, which you can find at trendsresearch.com. Now, what makes Gerald so influential is his ability to generate highly accurate forecasts about the economy, politics, the financial world, and many other areas of interest. His trends have been so accurate that his services have been used by experts and ordinary people around the world to guide their future plans. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, comment, and follow us. Also, I'd like to tell you about a service called HollywoodIsCalling.com. It's a great service that allows you to purchase live calls from your favorite celebrities, so check them out. You can purchase calls from more than 100 celebrities. A live 15-second call, maybe a happy birthday call or, a special occasion celebration of some sort. And a live 30-second call is $29.95. So give them a try. HollywoodIsCalling.com. Now let's say hello to Gerald Celente. Hi, Gerald, and welcome to the John Ark Show. How are you today, sir?
I'm fine. How are you today, John?
I'm fine, thank you. So a lot of our viewers are just amazed at how explosively chaotic and violent recent events have been all across the country. And it's causing people to move out of the major cities. It's causing them to try and work from their homes. And it's causing a tidal wave of businesses to permanently close. Gerald, what do you think is going to happen over the next 4 months?
Well, we're going into the Greatest Depression. It's already happening. You look at the latest report out of Yelp. Yelp said that some 60% of the businesses that locked down or were forced to lock down won't reopen. So the reality is there in front of everybody's eyes. And this is global. It's nation after nation that locked down their countries, and they're not going to bounce back. You look at the GDP numbers coming out, for example. One of the fastest growing countries used to be India. Now it was their GDP down some 20-something percent. Oh, and by the way, they totally locked down. So lockdown didn't work because now it's opening up again. This whole lockdown, don't lock down, the facts are all there. Now they're worried about a second wave. And you know why they're saying the second wave is going to be worse? Because people will be in their homes and locked down.
Not only that, but their savings have been completely depleted now. So it's going to be much harder for them to ride out the second wave.
Oh, exactly. And this is unprecedented in world history, where you have a bunch of politicians locking down economies. And again, the facts are all there. But people don't want to know the facts that, for example, from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 94% of the people that died of having coronavirus, that doesn't mean they didn't have other conditions, because in fact they did. They had 2.6 pre-existing chronic conditions. Oh, and also if you died from injuries or poisoning, that's right there in the CDC thing, but you had COVID, then you're considered dying of COVID, not that you died of poisoning or suicide or in an accident. So when you look at the numbers of the people who died, only 6% of the people out of 330 million in America died from the disease. So you lock down an entire nation for that. What are you talking, 10,000 people, 11,000 people out of 330 million? And the same thing globally. Look at Australia. 25.5 million people, 822 deaths. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, 822 deaths out of 25.5 million people. And I got a little piece of garbage crap like this Premier Danny Andrews, a little boy, locking down Melbourne again. Oh, and by the way, I forgot, 525 of those 800 plus deaths are elderly people from nursing homes. The United States, 43%. And the number's actually higher because they didn't require nursing homes to report the deaths until the first week of May. And most of the people died before then. Oh, and then we have that low-life little dictator over here in New York, the daddy's boy born on third base and thought he hit a home run. Another nobody, if daddy wasn't Mario Cuomo, and I'm going to rename the Tappan Zee Bridge after him. Oh, yeah, that little lowlife took the people, sick people out of hospitals with COVID, put them in nursing homes. And then the people that were sick in nursing homes that went to hospitals and died, he doesn't count them. So when you're looking at who's dying, why, and where, this is insanity that they destroyed the global economy over this reasoning.
What would you recommend that people who can't move out of the big cities do for personal protection now that some of the police departments are no longer responding to 911 calls?
Well, they're not here, but look, if you're in Australia, look what those police are doing to the people. $240,000 fines went to people's homes when they saw that they were going to demonstrate on last Saturday. Over 90 people whose houses they went into, broke into some of them. So what do I tell people to do? You get in the best shape you can, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. First book I worked on back in the mid-1980s when no one was really talking about this kind of thing was Natural Healing. I have an honorary doctorate from the National University of Health Sciences for the work I've done in complementary and integrated medicine. You double up on your workouts, double up on your diet, get in great shape. Look at the people that are dying in America. Again, look at the facts. Obesity, type 2 diabetes, lung disorders. Oh, only 42% of Americans are obese. Only 42%. Did you ever hear that expression, pigs can't fly? You been to the airport lately?
Yeah.
Look what people look like. You think you're going to die from obesity? Again, one of my top trends for 2018 or 2019, ready to explode. The health crisis in America from obesity and 70% overweight.
So with 60% of the small and medium businesses out there permanently closed, how long do you think before the major online retailers start raising their prices to take advantage of that?
As soon as they can. Yeah. As soon as they can. They're monopolies. They're criminal groups, like the banksters. There used to be laws. They used to have laws once upon a time called the Robinson-Patman Act, Sherman Antitrust Act, Clayton Antitrust Act, and for the bankers, the Glass-Steagall Act. One low-life piece of garbage president did away with them. Everybody loves that little peanut farmer with the brain of a peanut. Yeah, Jimmy Carter. Wasn't Jimmy Carter great? Oh, yeah, you like Mujahideen? No, let's rename him. We'll call him Al-Qaeda. We got to stop them Russians from fighting in Afghanistan. Yeah, Jimmy Carter, he's the one that did away with their usury laws. He's the one that started making banks being able to go interstate. They weren't allowed before then.
What do you
Bank of America was out in California, not in your neighborhood. You had all neighborhood banks. You had all neighborhood businesses. There were protests against the Walmarts, the Home Depots. They weren't allowed to do this kind of stuff because they had laws in place. When I was a kid, they had a thing called hardware stores, stationery stores, drug stores. No, you don't need them anymore. You got CVS, Staples, and Home Depot and Lowe's. They did away with it. Look what's happened. Look what's happened. The facts are there. 10% of the people own 88% of all the stocks. 1% own almost 52%. Since they locked down everything, 12 billionaires shared in $1 trillion. That's America.
What do you see happening to the job market after the election, especially as it regards subsistence level jobs that can feed a family?
Well, they're going to go down because the subsistence level jobs are in tourism, hospitality sectors, entertainment. They're gone. So that level is going to hurt even more. And that's why you're seeing more violence. Go back. When they lock down everything, and these are facts, not one of these slimy pieces of garbage crap with their bad attitudes, like that Fauci boy, Jaw, that's what Fauci is in Italian. Jaw, a little jaw boner. And all these other little bureaucrats, these little slimy people who get those jobs because they suck up and bow down. And I was the assistant to the secretary of the New York State Senate at 26 years old, so I know the deal from the inside. They don't look at the implications. We're fighting the COVID war. We're fighting the COVID war. We don't have an exit strategy. We don't care about who it's going to hurt. We'll tell you what to do. And everybody did it. So the implications of the people that are going to get hurt the most, they could care less. Oh, they'll throw them a couple of crumbs. And you saw it with the bailout money already. What is the Federal Reserve buying junk corporate bonds while the people get pennies? And the same thing with the other deals. You see, and they make the news one day. A nothing company gets $800 million, $1 billion, whatever. So no, they don't care. They could care less. It's the United Soviet States of America.
So every producer and celebrity I know is talking nonstop about the collapse of the movie industry, the television industry. Ticket sales have disappeared. 90% of the movie theaters are still closed. And production costs have increased by at least 25% because of the price rises in insurance. Insuring these productions has skyrocketed, as have all the new safety protocols they've had to implement on movie sets. Do you think the movie industry is going to bounce back in a year or two, or has it been permanently altered?
It'll bounce back at some point. Everybody's waiting for a vaccination. Once the vaccination comes out, people will get vaccinated and they'll forget about this thing for a while. And the people that live in fear now will keep staying in fear. But yes, the cost will continue to go up and the profit margins will continue to go down. I believe that we're going to start seeing the real hard times in the next few months. And then possibly and again, I'm not making this as a forecast. I'm saying possibly by around February, things will start picking up again. Because by then, enough people will be vaccinated and they'll feel safe.
So you published the highly respected Trends Journal, which provides companies and people with your latest forecasts. How does the journal help business owners and investors and everyday people navigate through all the insanity they're seeing on TV now?
Well, we tell them what's going on, what it means, and what's next, so they could plan for it. So as I mentioned, when this thing broke out, nobody was talking about what we were talking about in the magazine. You can look at it. Go back to March. I forecast that people will be leaving densely populated major cities in March. And then the news starts breaking in what? Late April? So now if you're an investor, you start thinking, well, should I sell what I have over here and buy what I want over here? There was a story in CNBC on Wednesday about this guy Solomon, who's with Goldman Sachs, selling a place in Aspen where people are moving to, flocking in for, I forget, $20-30 million. And you read the article and says where people are moving to. You know where according to Bloomberg, the prices have risen the highest? They've gone up over 18% right here in Kingston, New York, where I am. Because it's a beautiful area. It's 90 minutes away from New York City. And that's what's happening around. So what does the Trends Journal do? Am I going to buy commercial properties in big cities? Oh, what did Deutsche Bank announce? So they're not going to bring the people back to Wall Street until 2021? And it's one after another. How about all those businesses now depend on commuting? They're gone. So that's what you look at. And then again, you look at the journal in June. I said that I'm forecasting silver prices to spike at a higher percentage rate than gold. Silver was $17 an ounce, $17.50. Now it's about $27.50. Go back to the Trends Journal, June 6th, 2019. See the headline, magazine cover, gold bull run. Gold was $1,332 an ounce. Today it's around, floating around the 1950 mark. So that's why, you plan very different ways. I talked about whole health healing, what you do in this kind of crisis and how to get better on it. So it's more than economics, geopolitics, and socioeconomic change. We look at hundreds of different categories. And so people can decide what they should do and how they should do it. And the motto of the magazine is think for yourself. We're political atheists. You go to a doctor, all you want is the diagnosis and what to do. Not what the doctor believes in, what he follows. It's what the facts are. You got this, you got this, you got this. Here are some steps to take. And it's the same thing what we do. We just put the facts down. You decide what to do. This is what we suggest and believe where it's going.
Everybody I know, both celebrity and non-celebrity, who has moved out of the major city they were residing in over the last 12 months and moved into some rural area, the quality of their lives has dramatically improved. Stress goes down, traffic goes down, personal safety increases, and I think we're seeing that nationwide now.
Yeah, it's the ups and the downs. I mean, the people that are moving up here from New York City, they're the obey your governor people. You got to wear that mask. We'll report you. There's a different kind of element up here. It was a lot looser place, and now it's really getting tight. And so, ain't my kind of crowd. And by the way, I'm a Bronx boy back in the day, so I'm a real New York City guy. And these are very different New York City people. It's a riot. You say to them, "Oh, where you from?" "Oh, I'm from the city." Save it, Jack. You're not from the city, man. Where you from? "Well, I'm from Minnesota, or I'm from Scotland." They're not city people. They're people with attitudes, a lot of them, that live there and they're moving out. And you mentioned about actors in that group. I'm surprised. We had a rally up here on the 4th of July. The Crown Garden. We had the most historic four corners in America. I own 3 buildings, 1764, 1750, 1763. And in the 1750s Franz Roggen House, we have a huge garden, about 250 people here. I couldn't get any musicians to play, and very hard to find them. And at one time, the entertainment people used to be the people that had open minds and they didn't buy the lines. And that's not true anymore. Over here in Woodstock, which is 15 minutes away from me, I was just up there yesterday, walking on the rail trail, and people on bicycles with masks. Was this thing going to jump out of and get you? I mean, come on, grow up. And I'm talking about Woodstock, where it was anti-establishment. That's how they got their name. And now it's, you will obey what Governor Cuomo tells you to do. I'm a Democrat.
I heard today that the cost of renting a 26-foot U-Haul from California to Texas is now $4,000. So, it's going to, for some people, it's going to be cheaper just to leave everything behind and buy new furniture in their destination. It's coming to that point.
I want to make a comment before I forget. Look at what's happening to the cities as people are leaving. I mean, remember what Hollywood used to be back in the day, in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, the glamour of Hollywood. Now it's filled with homeless people. New York, east side, west side, all around the town. Homeless. Think about it. Yeah. If this virus was so deadly, why are all these homeless people not filling up the hospitals? They're not using that sanitizer like you should everywhere you go and putting that crap into your body.
I'll tell you something about
They're not socially distanced. Yeah. How come they're not filling up the hospitals and dying if this was so deadly?
So what do you forecast is going to happen to the price of gold and silver after the election?
I see it both going up, no matter who gets elected. The governments are just dumping in all this cheap money. You saw the Fed, they're going to keep negative interest rates, zero negative interest rates, zero at at least till 2023. They don't care about inflation. They made up the 2% number anyway. And governments all over the world are doing it. And look what's going on in Europe. Same thing. We have negative interest rates. India, fastest growing economy in the world. And what was this GDP down over 20%? Pumping in more money. So every currency is going to become more and more worthless. And the lower the currencies goes, the more gold people are going to buy. Look what's going on in Turkey. The lira is at an all-time low against the dollar. Gold sales are soaring. So it doesn't make any difference who gets elected, as I see it. It's bigger than that. And again, I want to stay on that point, though, again. Why aren't all the homeless people dying from COVID? How come? You know why, as I see it? They have built up their immune systems. The people that are dying from it, their immune systems are shot.
So how close do you think the states of California and New York are to experiencing a complete financial collapse?
No, it's going on now. It's going on now. Wait till look, you know what's going on. I mean, it's San Francisco, they're pouring out of the joint. New York City. Where are they going to get the tax revenue? Oh, they're going to raise taxes. You know what they're doing now in New York City that we're trying to do? When you go to a restaurant, they charge you a 10% COVID tax to restaurateurs to make money. And that moron Cuomo, they got 25% capacity. In the best of times, anybody in the restaurant knows it. Even in the best of times, margins are really thin. You're going to operate on 25%. Oh, but maybe in September 30th, I'll decide whether or not you'll have 50%.
I'll tell you how tough the restaurant business is. Oprah was a billionaire at one time, operated a restaurant in Chicago. And at the end of the day, that business was so hard that she sold off her interest and got out of it. That's how tough the restaurant business is.
Yep.
So,
I was on Oprah twice back in the day.
Yeah. I used to work for her. She's great.
Yeah, she was great, but she had a show like nobody else. I used to be on everybody, Good Morning America, everybody. I used to be on CNN 3 or 4 times a month back then. And when I did Oprah's show, boy, that was a whole different trip, man. She was really a pro. You walked in there, they were the top of the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at that time, everybody was doing talk shows out of Chicago. All the big shows were there. Geraldo, Jenny Jones, Oprah, everybody was there. And then, and then the world changed. So, I'm sure you're hearing about the wealth tax that California is pushing, which will not only hit your assets, not just it's not an income tax, it's an asset tax. So money you have in the bank and assets that you have possessed will be taxed once again. And what people who are fleeing California now don't realize, many of them don't realize, is that this will be a 10-year tax. So if you move out today, they're going to continue hitting you for the next 10 years. And today I hear that New Jersey is levying a new tax on the wealthy. So do you think this is going to be the new blue wave of financial taxation?
To a point, but the wealthy they're going to hit the other people too. They won't. In other words, to me, go back to the Eisenhower era. What was the tax rate on the very, very rich? You remember?
No.
90%. Mm-hmm. To me, hit the billionaires really hard. Look at that little clown Bloomberg running on the Democratic Party. Bloomberg spends $1 billion to run a campaign. $1 billion. How about putting some of that money back into, what was the guy's name? Carnegie? Oh, he's a terrible guy from what you read about him. But there was a thing called the public library system and these gorgeous buildings that he built all over the country. What are these guys doing? What's Bezos doing? Oh, Gates is getting people vaccinated, Celente. They're not doing anything with their money. And again, it's become a monopoly. The whole game is rigged. Again, they did away with all of the antitrust laws. Glass-Steagall Act. They made the bigs the biggest. Again, the numbers are there. As I said, What do you got? 10% owning 88% of the stock, 1% of the market, 1% owning almost 52%. And people are struggling from day to day. So these wealth taxes, they'll hit the people that they shouldn't be hitting. And those are people that, breaking their back, trying to make a good living and are doing okay. And they call that wealthy. I say go after the billionaires big time. Big time. They got, you have 26 people in the world, according to Oxfam. 26 people have more money than half the world's population. One of my trends is going to be off with their heads 2.0.
So we're seeing a lot of major banks closing a lot of branch locations. And some of them are claiming that this is a result of staffing issues due to the pandemic. Do you believe that, or is there something else at play?
They're going digital, and the whole world is going to be digital. They've already scared people, don't touch that dirty cash. We're going to give you digital trash. The world's going digital. And they're going to come out. I believe we're going to have a new currency at some point because of all this cheap money they're dumping in there. There'll be a crisis, and just like they did with FDR, when he called a bank holiday, we're calling a holiday. You won't be able to get your money out, and you got to turn in all your gold, and you turn it in for like $22 and something cents an ounce. And if you don't turn it in, it's a crime. And then when we get all your gold, we're going to raise the price to $33 an ounce. Yeah. So they're going to come out with a digital currency. And the banksters know it. And they don't need all these branches anymore because everything's going to be online, just like education. It's a whole different world. It's a whole different world. 2020 is as different as it was from 1920 to 1890. In other words, there weren't airplanes, there weren't automobiles, there wasn't refrigeration. And then it happened in the early 20th century. Now we're in the 21st century. It's a whole different world. It's a whole different world. My parents, may they rest in peace, could you imagine them at computers, cell phones? It's a foreign world. Everything has changed, and now it's going tech. And to me, it's going tech for the worst. Because you look at the people, they're not my kind of guys. Little Zuckerberg and Cook, they're not my kind of men. None of them. And so look what they've done to music. Go back when, music had style and grace to it, the Count Basies, the Dukes and Counts. And you listen to the music then, and then it became computerized. Nope, don't have to feel that passion from your soul. We could do that with this digital, this and that. That's where the world's going back to banking. It's gone. It's going to be gone. They'll know every penny you spent, where you spent it, how you spent it, so they can get it in the name of taxes or any other way they want to steal your money.
What do you think is going to happen to a lot of the distressed pension funds out there? Do you think they're going to go bankrupt, or will they be bailed out?
Some will be bailed out and some will go bankrupt. The bigs will get bailed out. The smalls will go bankrupt.
So what are your greatest concerns over the next 12 months?
My greatest concern is civil war and violence and crime and government repression. And I put government repression number one because they're already doing it to us. Can you imagine I wasn't allowed to hold a 4th of July rally, an Independence Day rally, but it was okay for Black Lives Matter to rally? And I said to the governor, come on, stop me. Man to man, come and stop me. I held a rally. I had Judge Napolitano here from Fox News. He's a libertarian. And talking about the violation of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights by these governors. So my greatest concern is, and I held a rally, and again, I died. Everybody there died from the virus. So this really isn't me. It's a clone of Celente. And the newspapers went after me. Everybody did. I held a rally anyway. So my greatest concern is government repression. Number two, violence and crime. When people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. and they're losing it big time. Civil War and the Greatest Depression.
So how can people subscribe to the Trends Journal?
Simply go to trendsjournal.com, trendsjournal.com. John, there's no other magazine like it in the world. I'm not saying it because it's my magazine. If you could show me one that could compare to it, bring it on. We tell you what's going on, what it means, and what's next. We're political atheists. We give you the information. We give you the trend forecasts. We give you where we see the opportunities are. We don't give financial advice. And the motto is think for yourself. So we look at many different fields, and our track record is number one. There's nobody that could come close to it.
Before we wrap this up, is there anything else you would like to promote?
No. Yeah, what I'd like to promote is for people to stand up and fight for freedom. And by doing that, to support what they believe they should support, and honor their heritage of who we are. And don't let people take that away from them. And again, as I said, I'm promoting personal health, because the stronger you are, the more you fight, the better you do. And again, to support the people like yourself and the Trends Journal, where we're fighting for freedom, truth, liberty, love, joy, and beauty. So put your money where your mind and heart are.
Well, it's been a real pleasure having you on the John Ark Show. I suspect that your forecasts have helped countless companies and individuals in many ways. Congratulations on all your success, and you are always welcome back on the show, sir.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all that you do, John.